Hey YouTube, Bearded Bristol here, and I'm just a guy who likes to talk and paint. I'm still working on my showpiece here and will be for some time to come, but I've made a little bit of progress in your absence and am anticipating the next steps. And with that happens to be my theme for the day, is anticipation. So as you anticipate my next words, I'm going to talk a little bit about the image here. And obviously, if you saw the last video, I've added a lot of shadows and some tree trunks and such since the last video. And it's coming along piece by piece. It still looks pretty icky. Just kind of muddy at this point. I myself am having a hard time envisioning what comes next. But I have faith that I will be successful, even if it means me taking many extra hours in which to pull this thing off. But I'm going to get ready here to dive in. Going to work kind of on this tree trunk area first and just kind of see where that takes us. Again, not going for super realism at this stage. Just adding some additional color to this to help take up the space. And it's kind of funny, this is just probably my own personal thing. Even though, you need to add those highlights, those low color, those bright colors first, I'm breaking with my own advice here and just adding in some structure to this to help take up the space. Because one of the things for me personally, spatial awareness is a big deal, and I have just some very large white areas here, and even when I look at the photo, it's hard for me to see how it all comes together. So by adding in this tree trunk, even kind of lightly at this stage, it helps me to kind of visualize what those white spaces need to, how those need to fill in. And you can see here it's kind of broken up in areas, and the reason for that is some of it is snow covered, and I don't want to cover those snow covered areas with anything at this point, because once they've got color on them, they ain't no going back. You are stuck with what you got. So anyway, I'm going to continue to just kind of pick away at this area and talk a little bit about anticipation. I am happy to say I've got an entire week of vacation coming up. I am taking 9 whole days away from the job so that I can refresh myself. A bit of cleansing, a bit of thinking, meditating. It all sounds very profound. A lot of it is me sitting in my chair watching TV and scrolling through Instagram, to be quite honest. But it's something that I need to do. I am kind of at a breaking point with my job, and we've all been there. I'm not going to go into great detail. But one of the pitfalls, of course, in all of this is the fact that I have been anticipating my break. And it's great to look forward to something. I think we all need things to look forward to. But when we begin to obsess on those things and look at them as the next great thing, one, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. And none of us need any disappointment in our lives, especially if we can head it off at the pass. And, so when you look forward to something, when you anticipate it so intensely that it becomes kind of your sole focus, it's taking away from your ability to do so many other things, like work, for instance. I take my job very seriously. Some would tell me too seriously, and I would be hard-pressed to disagree with them. But whether I have a vacation coming or not does not change the fact that the work has still got to be done. And if I focus too heavily on the anticipation aspect of the upcoming vacation, those work items are going to get lost in space, but not forever, because those things will still be waiting for me when I return. And nothing worse than coming back from a vacation where you are supposed to be getting refreshed, only to find a pile of work that you should have done or could have done prior to embarking on your time off. I have a little thing that I do that helps me deal with all of this. And it's not just for the anticipation aspects either. This is also to deal with just the day-to-day stresses of the work. And what I do each morning is I leave work extra early. And I'll be honest, this will make some of your heads spin and or explode, but I leave for work about an hour earlier than I have to. I only have a 6-minute, 7-minute commute to work, whereas many of you drive great distances or have driven great distances to get to your job. But for me, with such a short drive, I found that if I left home, speaking of anticipating, I was anticipating a phone call. One moment. And that, folks, is one of many reasons why I need a break from my regular job. When you are 24/7 on call and you see a number that's probably work-related, it is important that you answer it. So that's what I did. But moving right along, that commute that I have, that short commute, does not allow me a whole lot of time to process. And I'm a big fan of preparation, but not a big fan of anticipation. So what does that mean exactly? Well, in my line of work and in most lines of work, preparation is key to success, right? I mean, you've got to have a plan, you've got to be able to execute the plan. But spending a lot of time on anticipating outcomes, be them good or bad, doesn't really get you any farther. It takes up a lot of headspace. It causes your brain, the wheels in your brain to spin and spin, but it doesn't really get you any farther ahead. Mostly it just takes up the now, which could and should be used for productive thinking and productive tasks. So, again, I know a lot of you have commutes and probably use those commutes for trying to get your head right and get your head prepped. But I also know folks that have in-home jobs where they may not have that separation from work and personal, so they either do or they expect to be able to switch gears at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. and just go. And that's a very difficult thing to do. I learned that when I was self-employed and tried working out of my home to no avail. So what do? I park my car for a half hour to 45 minutes every morning, and I have a little spot that I like to go to that is away from cars, people, all of the things. It's very quiet. And I sit and I pre-plan the day in my head, and I also use that time for free thinking. That space, that time is for me to figure out, that's where I do that anticipation. And that's where I say, hey, on my week's vacation, I am going to X. I want to get Y accomplished. And maybe that's for Tuesday, maybe that's for Monday. And I do those anticipatory, like that, anticipatory. I do those anticipatory tasks during that mental commute, we'll call it. And that gives me an exercise. It gives me the ability to think about those things and not let it interfere with my job. Because part of my job is also to prep for the time in which I'm away. So I have emails, I have projects to line up, I have contacts with vendors to make, all of the normal vacation, I'm gone, don't call me kind of things that easily could not be executed or could be held off to the last minute if I did not have a plan. If I was spending too much of my time anticipating the future and not enough time accepting the present and what can be done in that time frame. So that's what I do in the morning is I have those grand ideas, that anticipation, build that excitement towards the coming event, whatever that is, be it vacation, be it meeting up with an old friend or a new friend. But I use that time to expend that energy. And then once I put my car into gear and I leave that secluded thinking spot of mine, then it's time to turn my attention truly towards work. And I spend the next 5 to 10 minutes on my windy way to my job. Again, my commute's 6 minutes, I make it last a very long time. But I use that next period of time to plan my day, to look at the road ahead, the work road ahead, and set those accomplished tasks. And I have to be very focused with that time. I have to put the anticipation and the big picture and the fun personal stuff away. And I have to then focus solely on the work process. And I use those last few minutes of drive time for precisely that. Once I pull into that there parking lot where work is, by that point, I have completely shifted my mind into a work mode. And once I get out of that car, it's all business. I have a plan in place. I know the objectives and I know what I need to get done. And I am very focused on those things. And it's because I have taken, and it's not, I make things sound way easier than they are. So for that, I apologize. It's taken me a very long time, period of years even, to develop and to change into where I'm able to do this. So don't say, hey, that's a great idea, and then try it for a day or a week and then find out that you cannot do it, because it does take time to change any routine, to change any long-formed habit. And if your morning habit is getting in the car and hating your drive to work, or getting out of bed and having your cup of coffee and hating the idea that you have to work, or that you're just simply focused on the upcoming weekend instead of the tasks that lie in front of you from a work perspective, it's going to take some time to adjust, to make that new habit a reality. And it's no different than anything else, whether you've quit smoking, you're trying to lose weight, everything requires patience and time. And again, anticipation is great, thinking about the outcome, and hey, when I lose that 40 pounds, I'm gonna this, and that's wonderful. But what you're doing in the meantime is robbing yourself of the productive time to actually execute that idea, or to clear the road so that that idea actually has time to be executed. So, anticipation is great. Dreams are great. Spending time on big picture things is great. There's not a thing wrong with those until they interfere with the reality of now. And the reality of now is that you still have a great number of things that need to be accomplished. Whether that's, again, this does not always have to be solely work related or relationship related or any of that. We all have things that are important for us to do on a daily basis. And the more time we spend anticipating the future and all of the things, even the bad things, anticipating the bad things is terrible too, right? we can't spend time dwelling on the negative, because that keeps us from getting anything positive done in the meantime. The other thing that I will throw out there with regard to anticipation is, I'm a planner. I talk about that regularly, even in this video. I'm a planner. I like to know what's coming in front of me. And when I see something negative in the path, I used to spend hours, literally hours, thinking up all of the potentially negative outcomes that could come from that. And this goes down to breakups with girls in college. All of the potential negative outcomes. Who are they going to talk to? How is this going to affect me socially? How is this going to affect them mentally? How is it going to affect me mentally? And go through all of those and try to anticipate what was going to happen. And what I found out in the end is what happened was rarely as bad as what I had anticipated. And I used to kind of pat myself on the back, because it's a great way to never be disappointed. Nobody likes to be disappointed. And if you expect the worst, and the worst does not indeed happen, then you can consider that a successful mission, right? Well, I wasn't disappointed, so I'm glad I thought of that as an outcome. But the truth of the matter is, things are rarely as bad as we make them out to be in our heads. Especially because when we usually do that from a negative aspect, that time usually comes at night when we should be sleeping. And things always get magnified in darkness. That is the absolute worst time to try to understand what's going to happen tomorrow, because that's where a lot of those negative outcomes really come to light. Haha, see what I did there? But, anticipating the negative is just as damaging as spending too much time anticipating the positive. When in truth, we need to be living in the now, whatever that is, performing those tasks that need to be accomplished so that we have time to enjoy ourselves, and so that we have time to live in the present. And I will tell you, before I left work today, of the 8 to 10 things that I needed to have occur before I left, so that I can have more of a peaceful vacation time, I was able to cross all of those off of my list, despite being thrown just a tremendous and tragic curveball today as it relates to one of my employees. I won't go into detail on that. Even without knowing the gentleman's name, he has some dignity. But he was asked to leave work today, and it's not necessarily a disciplinarian thing. He will be allowed back, but it came as a shock to my system, and I had to spend 2 to 3 hours today trying to fix, so to speak, or mitigate that situation. And it took me away from those to-do things that I needed to get done. And it's nothing that could have been anticipated. It just happened. So with that, I had to shift on the fly and do the things in front of me that needed to be done. But also, because I'm not a rookie, I built in time in my day for emergency. Because of that, because I understand the routine, and built in that time, I was still able to get those tasks done that I needed to. Again, this is so I can have some peace while I'm away from work. And it's important because, yes, you could say I should have anticipated the negative, and that anticipation itself is not bad. But the truth is that the pre-planning and understanding that the tasks that I needed to get done were imperative that I complete today or tomorrow, but today because I have another list for tomorrow, because I was not focused on getting off work and being out for 9 days. Instead, I had put that behind me through that morning thinking session. I was able to accomplish the things that I necessarily needed to accomplish And that is going to serve me far better moving into my time off than anything else, any amount of anticipation or growing excitement could ever do. You might have faintly heard it. My beeper did go off, so I think we're pretty close to my allotted time here. I kind of already gave my spiel. I don't feel I need to recap a whole lot, but just bear in mind that the more time we spend in anticipation of the good things, is probably going to disproportionately affect those good things down the road because of unfinished tasks, things left unattended, because we were daydreaming about what could be in the moment that may or may not actually be. So, anticipation can hurt you down and outright. So, like I say, my solution to that, first is to have a sip of scotch, because I'm getting kind of dry from yapping. My solution to that is simply to build in a finite amount of time, a reasonably finite amount of time, not 10, not 2 hours, not 30 minutes even, 15, 20 minutes a day, where you can do free thinking and sort out those big ideas and those upcoming moments, and to enjoy the idea of the good things, anticipate those good things, but similarly build in that cushion so that you can switch gears back to what's really important, which is getting those tasks done that will allow you to enjoy the upcoming event. Or from a negative aspect, to continue to get work done even though you may have a difficult meeting or a difficult encounter coming up, because rarely are those difficult things as bad as we think they are. So that's my food for thought today. Thanks for talking and painting with me. I am going to settle back in and paint for a bit longer. I hope you all got something out of this, and I hope to heck you'll go out and create something, whatever that is. We'll talk to you again soon.